little trouble with my internet, but it seems to be working okay now.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about this whole computer and internet thing. I always say computers are just like women. You can't live with them. You can't live without them.
Yeah, I'm
But
old school, so I'm not technical with computers. So when something goes wrong, I just throw my arms up and say, "Oh well."
yeah, start trying not to bonk your head against the wall. But
Right.
yeah, so good
Exactly.
morning, Coach. How's your week been? Did you have a good week?
Yeah, been a great week. Looking forward to the call today. I don't know if you know this or not, but by these calls are actually re-educating me because there's a lot of things that I have forgotten over the years, and as we're doing these calls and we're talking about different topics, it kind of brings back what I forgot.
Well, that's the thing, old coach has forgotten more things about primal eating and intermittent fasting and hydrogen rich water than most of us will ever learn. So
Yeah.
it's quite the blessing to have you in here every week, Coach. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's just a wonderful thing to look forward to. You know, I've never been a real big Friday person ever since I started working for myself, because Friday to me is just another day of the week, big deal, whatever. But now I look forward to Fridays because every Friday I get to meet with Coach, and it's always a lot of fun and very informative. And, we're here in the Kong family trying to change the world, and we want to the only way we're going to do that is by changing people's worlds one at a time. And so, the information that you're gracing us with every week is something that's going to change a lot of people's lives as time goes by, and so it's quite the blessing. And so we've got Rodgar on, and we've got Dan Edlund has jumped in the house to say hi this morning and listen in. And so if you guys have any questions for Coach, just let me know, and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. And so anyway, I think today's subject is going to be along the lines of the intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting. And I'm really curious about this, Coach. Because I've heard a few people talking about it. I know Coach Menard, she totally wholeheartedly believes in what you do. She utilizes your system, and anybody that knows her and sees her can see that she's absolutely beautiful and in just incredible shape and abundance of energy and all that great stuff. And so, I know she attributes a lot of that to you and you helping her learn about what we are talking about here today and what we talk about every week. So anyway, yeah, let's get on with it there, buddy. Let's hear what we got to say today about that subject or whatever subject it is you want to discuss today, brother.
Well, I tell you what, did you see the post I put on my Facebook page on the brand new research? See, I'm always going to start off with the how important hydrogen-rich water is. That's always because, of course, water's essence of life. But I'm always going to start that off because that's my main platform to my health program that I offer is of course the hydrogen-rich water. But did you see the post that I did about the new research that was done on athletes? And it was an actual double-blind human pilot study. Did you get a chance to see that yet?
I think so. I think I ended up seeing that. I
Anyway,
shared out and saw several of your awesome posts that had the, that's another thing I love about you, Coach, and everybody should pay close attention to this. When it comes to the things that the Coach puts out there, he always includes the science behind it because he and his wife, Emily, are really, really into the science. It's like one of the things that I'm pretty sure you're the one who said this, Coach. How many scientific studies are coming out on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis on your product? Well, on our product, they're coming out on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis like hotcakes off the griddle. And so I love how you help us all keep on track with that stuff and get that stuff out there so that, there's a lot of people out there who, once you talk to them about hydrogen-rich water, all of a sudden they become researchers. And, you know, what better way to research than with the actual science that the professionals are putting out there. So, yeah.
Exactly. And the reason why I'm doing that, guys, is because I am not a doctor. So let's put that out there. I don't want to be a doctor. I would never want that DR on the front of my name. And furthermore, the reason why is because I don't want to be related to the AMA, because the AMA control them, and I don't want to be controlled. When I was younger, I really wanted to be a therapist, and I actually went to a Loma Linda University to look into the program. And as I researched it more and more, the therapists that graduate from there actually have, by their certification and by their license, they are dictated by the doctor. And most therapists that I know more than the doctor does. And so because we do put out a lot of information, I obviously am being seen by health professionals and doctors. And so instead of having them come after me with their hate thoughts, I put the research there so that way they can't deny it themselves. And it's just and it's for myself too, because I obviously want to make sure that I'm giving the right information out there, even though science changes quite a bit also. So that's why we have to continue to educate. But anyway, that last research I put out there was actually submitted in June, the June 28th, 2019, and it was a pilot study done on athletes on how hydrogen-rich water is able to increase their performance and recovery. And then it was it was put on the public site just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's how new it is. And so, and this was a study done by multiple researchers, even a researcher here from the United States who specializes in molecular hydrogen, H2. And so it just shows how powerful this water that we have is, and how powerful that molecule that's in our drinking water, which is molecular hydrogen H2, is for our health, not only for the athletes, but of course for many other diseases. And so that's why I like to open up with because I think a lot of distributors don't realize what they have in front of them, how powerful it is. So anyway, that's why I wanted to open up with that. Now let's talk a little bit about what you were saying, JJ, about the intermittent and prolonged fasting. And there's a craze. People are jumping on the bandwagon, backing it up, and because there's so many health benefits to it that a lot of professors and doctors and universities have enough information now where they can actually say that intermittent and prolonged fasting actually is a way to help treat cancer and and other diseases like type 2 diabetes, and this is where the hydrogen-rich water plays a big part, because the science behind hydrogen-rich water does the same thing. So if you're combining the water with the intermittent and prolonged fasting, of course, along with the primal eating, you've got 3 very powerful tools that are going to address the issue. Why these people will actually address the issue itself. The medication and the drugs, they don't work. They never have worked. What Nixon signed that bill over 40 years ago to fight cancer. Well, here we are, 40-something years later, and cancer is still on the rise. Type 2 diabetes is still on the rise. So, I mean, what's that telling you? That what they're doing is not working. Well, science is now saying that by using real food, and of course, drinking the right water, that is working, because that's what our body is designed to use to help heal itself anyway. I had a big question pop up last week about primal eating, that someone's doctor told her, don't do the primal eating, which you guys know as a ketogenic diet, which is a high dietary fat and very low carbs. Well, the doctor told her don't do it because it's going to raise your LDL, it's going to raise your cholesterol up. Well, the doctor doesn't know how to read. Most doctors don't know how to read their cholesterol charts because they don't understand that there's two types of cholesterols, and they don't understand what makes cholesterol bad, and they don't understand how important cholesterol is. So when they tell you, JJ, this is crazy. When they tell you your cholesterol is high, we are going to have to give you a medication to bring your cholesterol down. But see, this is where I'm saying that doctors are not educated in nutrition, and they really don't understand how that works. And what that means is that your cholesterol, your body only uses 18% of the cholesterol in food. The rest of the cholesterol is actually being produced. That's 85% of it's being produced by the liver. So you're only going to get 18% of the cholesterol out of food, because the 85% of it's being produced from the liver, and cholesterol plays a big part. Well, this is what's crazy, is the body's not stupid, because it does need cholesterol in order to function correctly, especially at the cellular level. That if you're taking a medication, and if you're not researching that medication you're taking, and you don't see the side effects to it, well, shame on you, because don't believe the doctors what they say. You need to take your health in your own hand, and you need to investigate what he is prescribing. There's a lot of medical mistakes out there. You can see it, and you can actually Google medical mistakes. But anyway, so the body knows that it needs a certain amount of cholesterol to function. So if you're taking cholesterol medication to drop your cholesterol, and your cholesterol starts to drop, what do you think your liver is going to do?
It's going to start producing a bunch of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so what's going on here? Well, the biggest issue is that your body's trying to bring the cholesterol back up because it can't survive without it. Then on top of that, you're taking a medication that definitely has side effects over long term and will cause an issue. So that's just something we're dealing with. Well, science is now showing that when people, and this is what our ancestors did, when people are actually in doing intermittent fasting and doing prolonged fastings, they're actually using their own body's natural mechanisms to heal itself. And that's what it's designed for. You're actually helping your gut by destroying the bad gut bacteria and doing good gut bacteria, because you're giving your gut, your digestive tract, a chance to rest from the food you're eating to actually heal itself. That's just one. I mean, there's many different factors involved in the body's healing itself that these two protocols actually work. And that's why I use them, because they are all backed by science. Now, most of you have heard me talk about fat adaptation and how important fat adaptation is. Well, now science has been showing this for a while, that when your body is actually in fat adaptation, which is intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting escalates that's when the magic starts. That's when the body switches from the energy source that most of you are using, which is sugar, to actual fat. And so by doing that, the actual fat burning is actually what's going to give you the health benefits. And that's where, you know, cholesterol, I mean, that's what I try to have to explain to people, that you have, you know, your cholesterol, your bad cholesterol is due because you're on a high carb diet. That's why your bad cholesterol is high, because you're on a high carb diet. Sugar, a high carb diet, and cholesterol is not a good combination. It causes inflammation, and that's where you get the inflammation in the artery walls. And then the body is going to do what it's supposed to do and try to heal or try to fix that inflammation and putting patches on it. And they keep putting more, and you keep eating more sugar and more carbs, and your cholesterol keeps going up. You keep putting more patches on there, and guess what? You have a heart attack.
Well, that's interesting
And by
stuff.
doing intermittent and prolonged fasting, because you're, I think we lost your sound. Oh, it might be mine. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up just a little bit, but we can hear you. You're all right.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, JJ. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, just to kind of clarify to people that haven't maybe seen some of the other episodes, is that, you know, what you're doing with that fat adaptation is you're basically teaching your body how to start running off of its own fat. And so it literally starts eating the fat instead of eating and utilizing and burning the sugar, because you're not putting that amount of sugar and the carbohydrates into your body anymore. So your body is basically being trained to burn its own fat as its energy. And, and, you know, so that's what we talked about on last week's show. And, you know, what I know a lot of people are really curious, because people are seeing this out there. They're hearing it, they're seeing it, the whole fasting thing. They don't really understand exactly what it is. They don't you know, when they hear fasting, they think, oh, I gotta like stop eating for God knows how long, and that kind of thing. And so I'd really love to get into, you know, why that fasting is important, and then more importantly, kind of how it's done. Like, what's the longest period of time you've ever gone without eating food? And then also, you're not going completely without anything. You're still drinking your hydrogen-rich water, right?
Oh yeah, that plays a huge factor, because when you're fasting, when you're doing any kind of a fasting, the electrolytes that are in the water, of course, we always add sea salt to our water, so we're getting more electrolytes. That's going to keep the body or the cells at a balance on minerals, because when you're fasting and when you're doing any kind of a fasting, your kidneys are flushing out a lot of fluid, a lot of water. And along with that water, you're flushing out the minerals. And so you have to, and why most people fail if they're doing a 18-hour or a 20-hour or 24-hour fast or even longer, why they fail is because they're imbalance of electrolytes at the cellular level. And so that's why we tell people they have to drink a gallon to a gallon and a half of hydrogen-rich water daily with added sea salt to it, so that you can be successful when you're doing the intermittent fasting. Because if your electrolytes are balanced, you're going to be controlling the hormones that are actually causing you to want to eat and to have an appetite, and you're also going to be controlling the hormones that are telling you you're not hungry, because you're actually burning your own body fat, which is food. So that's why the electrolytes are so important, and why the water is so important. And what happens also is a lot of people, when they first get involved in intermittent fasting, because they've seen on Google or on the website of all these people that have lost so much weight in a short amount of time, they say, well, shoot, I can do that. I can fast. But what happens is that your body, got to remember, and I've said this before, that you have to teach your body to switch from the sugars you've been living off of for decades to burning your own body fat, and you have to do it in small steps because your body doesn't automatically do it. You have to teach it to do it. So you have to go through it. So if you try to do a 24-hour fast right off the bat, you're going to fail. Your blood sugar is going to drop like a rock, and you're going to pass out because the body does not know how to switch over. And so and then you get those out there that are saying, well, there's no way, especially those athletes, or especially those weekend warriors that are going to the gym, and they're saying there's no way I can fast. There's no way that I can not eat and go to the gym and train. I just won't be able to do that. And in a sense, you're right, because your body's not trained to burn the fat, because you have not eaten any food. And so you have to train it by starting out by a primal eating, your higher fat, and teach it to burn the fat that you're eating, your dietary fats. That's how you teach it. That's how we started off. And then once your body gets adapted to that, then we introduce them to intermittent fasting, which means most of you are fasting anyway. So those of you that say, well, I can't fast, well, you have to look at your lifestyle, because you are fasting. You're doing some kind of fasting. And that means that when you have your last meal, even if it's a snack at 10 o'clock at night, and you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and you don't have your first meal, say around 7, 8, or 9, well, you just fasted because you did not eat all night. So that's a type of fasting. But to get the benefits of actually losing that belly fat or hip fat or that weight you're trying to lose, obviously you're going to have to do longer fastings. And the most common ones are a 16-hour fast, or an 18-hour fast, or a 20-hour fast. And what that means is, for example, you start off on the easier one, which is a 16-hour fasting, which you're not going to have any calories at all, none. All you're going to have is black coffee and your hydrogen-rich water and your sea salt, which means that if I have my last meal at 6 at night, I will not eat anything until 10 the next day. No breakfast. So really, guys, all you're doing is you're eliminating your breakfast meal. That's it. That's all you're doing. And that's what we do. We start you off at a 16-hour, because most people can do a 16-hour pretty easy. And there's some good benefits. You're not going to get into what they call therapeutic ketosis. In a sense, you are going to get in ketosis, but you're not actually going to get a nutritional ketosis, is what we want to do to really lose that fat. But I mean, some people do 16-hour fasts, and they have patience, and they'll lose a lot of weight, but they have patience. Most humans, or most of the American public, they don't have patience, so they want results now. So that's why we got to kind of escalate it. But it's pretty simple, that you just eliminate your breakfast. That's all. Just eliminate your breakfast, and then understand how to eat prime meal meals. And that pretty much is and most people can do that. They can do that.
So, hey, Coach, I want to ask, I got a couple questions from what you've been talking about. There's a couple of things that have come up, and a comment I want to let everybody know about. For anybody that is curious about the whole training your body to transition from burning sugar to burning fat, you get a pretty good insight into that if you tune into last week's episode, last Friday. Coach comes in here every Friday, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a whole new file, a whole new playlist of just you, Coach, so that it'll make it easier for people to go in to the Kong Family YouTube channel and find your videos, versus having to go through the hundreds that are up there. They're just going to have, I'm going to have a Coach Mabry playlist that's just you. And so people can go and they can tune into that episode from last week, and they can get kind of an insight into into how that process works a little bit, because that's what we talked about last week, was how to get your body trained into that. And it's absolutely fascinating. And I highly recommend it to anybody that's struggling, or, either struggling with, getting rid of that pesky fat, or just somebody who wants to just be as healthy as they can be. This is the way to do it. And then the other question I had, or the question that I had was, you're talking about putting sea salt into your water during your fasting periods. Number one, do you do that? Do you put that sea salt into your water no matter what, whether you're fasting or not? And then the other thing is per gallon of water that you're drinking, how much sea salt are you putting into each gallon of water?
Okay. It doesn't matter if however you eat, the sea salt, most of the public is not getting the minerals out of their food they're eating because they're eating processed foods. So, and most of the vegetables out there that are at the stores, basically have been sitting in the stores for a while. So, and plus the growers, they're not replenishing the soil. So most of the public is getting, is not getting the amount of minerals, electrolytes they need throughout the day. And that's why when you have people that get, they talk about, well, I get cramps all night long, it's because they have a mineral imbalance. So they have to take a supplement mineral, which will work at first, but we all know that eventually it doesn't work. And so you want to get your minerals out of nature is where you want to get them. And some supplements do work. I would prefer people to take a liquid mineral versus a pill, because it will get into the body will utilize more of the liquid. It doesn't have to digest it. But anyway, the electrolytes play a huge part at the cellular level. And anybody that is fasting, and even if you're not fasting, what we recommend to our clients is that they wake up first thing in the morning, obviously, and have a big glass of hydrogen-rich water right off the bat, big glass. And then go make your coffee and go to the bathroom or do whatever. And then have a second glass and take a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and either put it in the palm of your hand like I do, or you can put it in the water and start your day off with that 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt in that glass of water, because that's going to get the body, your body is dehydrated when you first wake up in the morning anyway, and your organs are dehydrated. But you're also putting in Himalayan pink sea salt. Not if the sea salt's white, that's crap. It has to be like a pink color, and it has to have little particles of like browns in it. That just tells you it's got a multiple amount of different the alkaline minerals along with the trace minerals that your body needs. They all work as a team. I don't know where the supplement company gets the idea that you can isolate a mineral and then expect it for the body to use it. It doesn't work that way. That's our foods. The vegetables, when you eat them fresh, all the alkaline minerals and the trace minerals are in that because the body recognizes that as being good. So then what we do is that we explain to people you should be doing a 1/4 teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt, pink sea salt, 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, start your day off around 12 or 1 o'clock during the day. And then at 3 to 4 o'clock, most of the people, when they're working a 40-hour job, start to get tired. Well, that's when you have your third 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Because what that's going to do is that's going to actually add energy to the power plant in your cells. It's going to help that power plant ramp back up again. And you'll notice that you'll get a burst of energy by doing that. Now, when you're working out, or if you're an athlete, or if you're training hard and you're working out 3 to 4 to 5 days a week, what you need to do is for every quart, Emily, is it for every quart you put a 1/4 teaspoon, right? Yeah. For every quart of water, you put a quarter teaspoon of this Himalayan sea salt in that water and take it into the gym. And so, for example, when we work out, Emily brings in a half gallon of water to the gym. She'll put a half a teaspoon of sea salt in that water, and then she is going to sip on that as we train. And if you look at the science behind the mitochondria and how the ATP energy system works for recovery during a hard training session, this is what's going to help you recover after every set. So if you're doing a training routine like we are, which means that we have a 1 minute rest period between each set, then by the time that, because we are drinking hydrogen-rich water, which has got electricity in it anyway, and our body operates on electricity, we are recovering that mitochondria and increasing and recovering the ATP energy system, which is it's like a dragster coming off the line. So you're going to get a burst of energy when you push that weight. And it's a very short burst. So it's like a dragster coming off the line. But then when that dragster is done, then it's done. Well, you have to recuperate yourself to have that next dragster ready on your next set. And so that's what the sea salt does. It helps to elevate your recovery time as well as the water that we're doing. And of course, now they're showing that exercising in a fasted state also is a way to recover quickly also and increase that anti-aging hormone called a growth hormone in men and women. And so that's based, and then of course at night. Now for me, and you don't have to do this, but for me, I usually have about a 12-ounce glass of water before I go to bed, and I will do another quarter teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt so I don't cramp up at night. So those of you that have cramping issues at night while you're asleep, you can do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water before you go to bed, or you can do a quarter teaspoon of sea salt in your water before you go to bed, whatever you want to do, and that's going to help it. So you can see that we're doing a minimum of a quarter teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt every day, but because we're training so hard, we also add it to our water when we take it into the gym. Now that's one thing I'm seeing a lot of, and this doesn't make sense to me, and it's just sad, but 90% of the people that go to the gym, they don't even hydrate themselves while they're training. And I just don't see, I mean, that's why they have issues.
Well, let's face it, Coach, there's a lot of people out there that just simply do not understand the importance of water to the human body, which is just, it is crazy. It is mind-boggling that people don't understand just how dang important water is. And I've been reading that book, You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty by Dr. Batman. And I think it's an interesting book, but what's even more interesting about it is everything he's talking about in that book. He's just talking about regular old plain old water. And, so like everything that he's talking about in that book literally increases tenfold by drinking hydrogen-rich water. Yeah. And what you were talking about just a minute ago about human growth, stimulating that human growth hormone through this process. I've got a cousin who has a Kangen water machine, and she and her husband, they work out a lot. And her husband called me up one day because he wanted to know what the best way was to disinfect his needles. And I was like, what do you need to disinfect needles for? And he said, well, because I'm injecting human growth hormone. And I was like, wow, and that right there just seems absolutely insane to me. And I know that that's something that like professional athletes can like get kicked out of the league and such if they're doing that kind of crap. And he's doing it because, you know, obviously he thinks that there's some sort of benefit to it, and he is drinking Kangen water. But, you know, I wanted to, because as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was him. And I'm like, what would you have to say to him about that?
Well, there is, I mean, I'm probably a pretty good person to talk to about that because of my past and how I damaged my, how I affected my life because of the abuse of steroids in the past and what I did to myself. So I
So
know a
that,
lot
hold on
about.
one second, Coach. Coach, 1 second. I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, just for clarification purposes, especially if I can get him to watch this video. So the human growth hormone, that is basically a steroid.
Yes, it's basically a steroid. And what we did back in the heydays is we actually added, our mentality was, you know what, if this one steroid works good, how about if we do about a dozen of them? Let's stack them all. And of course, growth hormones is one of them. A lot of older people, seniors, and even back when I was personal training, some very what would you call them? I had a couple of famous people I trained, and they took growth hormones because that was their lifestyle. They had to stay young looking, and they were older. And so is it your cousin you were saying? Is it your
It's
cousin?
basically my cousin,
What is
my cousin's husband.
okay, your friend or whoever. But anyway, what he's doing is he is causing some major issues by using, doing it long term, because your pituitary gland is what's going to produce your hormones, not only your growth hormones, but your testosterone, adrenaline, neuroadrenaline, and stuff. Well, what you're doing is you're injecting a chemical, which is man-made, into your body. And so the pituitary gland says to itself, well, shoot, I've got plenty of growth hormones, so I don't have to produce any. This is where people need to fully understand what I'm saying here. Your body will naturally produce growth hormones, testosterone, estrogen, neuroadrenaline, they all have an effect on adding lean muscle and helping to burn that fat. They all have an effect. The problem is you're putting in your body a synthetic chemical that imitates your actual natural growth hormones, and that is going to affect the mechanism that is producing the natural growth hormones. So then what happens to that mechanism over time? It starts to dry up. It no longer is being used. And so then when you eventually get the side effects from the growth hormones you're taking over time, you go off of them. Well, guess what? Your pituitary gland is so lazy, it's not going to produce anymore.
So what you were mentioning, that when you were doing that you ended up creating some problems. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I basically had some long-term medical issues, and it affected me at I don't know if it was an advantage, because most of the bodybuilders that are my age right now are all dead, and they died in their 50s because of the abuse of steroids and how it affected their heart, kidneys, and stuff. For me, it affected my organs and my kidneys. I ended up being in a coma because my organs were shutting down. I ended up being in a coma for 3 days, and the doctors were telling my wife that I probably won't make it through it. And they didn't, and because I was in a coma, I couldn't tell them. I mean, because they even asked her, has your husband taken steroids? And she didn't really have an answer, so she didn't know what to tell them. Well, when I woke up, I mean, I told them, and that's what they were saying was affected me. But the long-term issue was I had kidney issues for quite a few years. And I had, I forgot, Emily knows the disease I had in my kidneys, but what's weird is I started drinking this water 9 years ago. And when I get my checkup, my kidneys are like brand new now. And I mean, the only thing I did really was just change my water that I was drinking. And so that helped. And then also what happens with long-term or steroid side effects is as you get older, your tendons tend to crystallize. And about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I detached my right bicep from the shoulder. The tendon tore off the bone, and my long head bicep rolled down to my elbow, and that's an issue. And so, and I can't say that. I don't know about the cancer. I mean, I smoked a pipe for 20 years. That definitely had an effect on the cancer, but who knows? Because they do relate long-term use of steroids to different kinds of cancer.
So what would your advice be to my cousin-in-law?
Well, I would tell him that he has to get off the shots right away, and because he will contract some kind of a disease later on in life, and he's going to disrupt the pituitary gland from producing the growth hormones along with other hormones also. See, what about testosterone? I mean, he's just doing the growth hormones. It's your body already has a mechanism that will produce growth hormones. You just have to have the tools to activate it. And science, and I've posted these over and over, and this is especially for athletes. You put yourself in a fasted state, you train in a fasted state, you are going to peak. You'll have more peaks during the day of growth hormones than you will ever get with the shots. Shots will, that all the shot does is temporarily. What you're looking, see, the natural person is only going to peak at morning and night of the growth hormones. Then it comes back down again. When you're doing the intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting, combining it with the primal eating, you're actually spiking your growth hormones throughout the whole day. And that's what you want. I mean, that's, and of course the water is going to keep you hydrated, and that's just going to make it the water, guys, is going to escalate everything. That's the simple answer. You put your friends and families on this water, and they're trying to do whatever they're, lose weight or body fat or add lean muscle. If you're doing the right program, this water escalates it even higher and faster. That's how important the water is.
Yeah.
But your friend or your cousin, what he's doing is he's only, that synthetic growth hormone is temporarily. That's not what you're looking for. Now, why in the world? Well, it's because they're not educated, obviously, but why in the world would you put a synthetic chemical into your body that has side effects over doing it what your body already knows how to do, but you just need to activate it?
I would say the reason people do that is because they're not aware. They're not aware that their body actually produces it, and they're not aware of the fact that they can actually, through this program of yours, through what we're talking about here today, they can actually get like a much bigger, much better, much more of that, and have it be more consistent, by simply doing it natural and giving their body what it needs so that it does it on its own. I mean, it is crazy that people would do that kind of thing. It just absolutely makes my spine chill, just the thought process of somebody. I remember watching one of my old friends years ago who was a bodybuilder. I remember watching him inject his calves, and it's like it almost made me go throw up. And like the smell of his house, because I was in his house, and the smell of his house was almost something that made me, it kind of made me nauseous just going into his house. And, you know, and I haven't seen him for years, but I need to try and get back in touch with him. He doesn't have the same phone number anymore. And, you know, I'd love to let him know about this, because I would imagine he's having some problems now with his health because of all of that he did back in the day. And, you know, so, but yeah,
well,
I think it's just because they don't know what they don't know, right? That's what our job is, to teach them.
And what's really kind of interesting, JJ, is that look at the money they're spending on that growth hormones. Look how much it's costing them a year. And here there's a system out there that is more effective, much, much healthier, and it's basically free. Now, how does that make sense?
I'd be really curious to know how much money he is spending on that.
Well, back in my days, I can tell you how much it cost us, because not only did we have to buy the syringes with the drugs in it, every 30 days we had to go see a doctor to get our blood test to make sure we weren't killing ourselves. And how does that all make sense? Doesn't, does it? No, it does not. But it's just you're right. It's all about education, and it's about, you know, they're looking at, and that's another thing, they're looking at a quick fix, which is anything that is a quick fix is not good for you, period. Anything. And if you just have patience and you find someone who specializes in the natural way of increasing your growth hormones, your testosterone and stuff. Now, I have to agree with this. You know, sometimes somebody may be so depleted of their hormones. Let me give you an example. How old are you, JJ?
I am 54 years young.
Okay, that's perfect, because I have a guy that I helped here not too long ago who had a couple of issues, and Emily promotes. Emily is an expert when it comes to men and women hormones. And so I would tell you, I'd say, okay, I want you to go get a full hormone panel. And I would venture to say that your testosterone level probably would be around in the 3s or 2s, okay, naturally. Okay. But the problem is, at your age and my age, don't we want to be younger? Don't we want to age slowly? Slow the aging process down? Yeah, obviously. What does that? Your own natural growth hormones and testosterone. But if your testosterone is down to 200 or 186, then that means your estrogen level's up. So that's an issue. Well, you're aging fast, and you need to get that. So some people, some men or women, especially the women, their hormones are tanked really bad. And so sometimes we need a boost. Okay. Well, what people don't understand is by doing a synthetic injection of either testosterone or growth hormones, that's not the way to do it. Bioidentical hormones. It's a natural way of increasing your hormones or bump starting your hormones. And what they do, it's in a pellet form, and those pellets are put in your hip. And based on your own blood sugar, on your blood reading, they adjust the pellets to what your blood reading is, so that what they do is they will put these pellets in, which are a vegetable base, and because they're in a pellet form and they're in your hip, and it's called bioidentical. It has to be bioidentical, and there's only certain doctors, that's hormone doctors, that specialize in this, and you have to be very careful because it's just like our water. Not all alkaline water is the same. Well, that's exactly what hormones. Not all hormones or hormone therapy is the same. But if you do it the right way, you put those pellets in your hip, the body is going to only use what it needs. You're not going to overdose on it. It's only going to use. Well, what happens is during this process of trying to get your hormones up because you've been so tanked, and combining it with the water, primal eating, and intermittent prolonged fasting, if your doctor is like ours, we have a great hormone doctor, her job is to get you off the pellets and get your body mechanisms to produce those hormones naturally by itself, no matter what age you are. So I have to agree that sometimes you have to go that route.
Just a little boost.
Some people are so tanked. You get a boost because some people are, see, it's very, very dangerous psychologically, mentally, to have your hormones tanked for that long. Depression, women especially. Depression is huge. Most of the time is because of an imbalance, if not all the time, is it's imbalance of their hormones, and they need to get them under control, or that will lead into very deep depression. And so, especially for women, and I think what happens is too many people in drugs that don't work. I just saw an advertisement last night when I was watching football, and they were talking about an antidepressant. It's a woman. It always seems to be the woman on these commercials, and she was already taking an antidepressant, but she was still having the symptoms of depression. And so this doctor was telling her, well, yeah, you're taking an antidepressant medication, but now you still have the symptoms, so now we got to add this one to it.
Yeah.
And I had to stop for a second. I said, did I hear that right? They're actually going to add to what she's taking?
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? I mean, how many times have we heard on the news about somebody committed suicide and they're on antidepressant medication?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You know, that's how they killed my mom, is they never knew what was wrong with her, so they just kept giving her more and more poisons. By the time she was 66 years old, she was on 22 different medications every day. She developed a cyst on the backside of one of her kidneys that poisoned her spinal fluid and turned her into a vegetable. And in 4 days, her mother was gone. And you know, I have a really big time aversion to doctors because of what happened with my mom, and what, you know, reading World Without Cancer and killing cancer, not people, and such. I just have this. I'm like horrified of doctors. You know, unless they're like an orthopedic doctor or something like that, trauma doctor. They're all right, but when it comes to doctors and nutrition, it's like I always tell people, run, Forrest, run, you know, because I'm scared to death of them. I don't have anything to do with them. I'd rather just go with whatever I've got, and I'd rather go with something like what you do, because you know, doctors just horrify me, and I'd have to you know, get the right doctor somehow to be able to drive myself to go in and get a, you know, a hormone panel or blood test or anything like that, because I'm just horrified of those people. And so I'm more interested in just doing things that have been proven to turn things around.
Yeah, and with, you know, like I said, I mean, I keep, and I'm going to keep saying it on my Facebook page, wherever. I'm going to keep saying it. You know, 3 of the most powerful anti-aging protocols is the water, primal eating and intermittent and prolonged fasting. And why is that? Because the root cause of why you're aging is imbalanced hormones, and the root cause why you're gaining that belly fat and that hip fat or that butt fat is hormone imbalance. So all three of these are known by science to balance the hormones. It's part of it. But of course, there's a lot of other factors, your gut health and all that stuff. But I mean, that's where you start. You start with those three, and it makes it simple. I mean, I'm doing research on Emily and I'm on my second research on Emily and I on older people training to prove that age tools and the right routine that a senior, I'm 60, I'll be 68 and Emily will be 65, can add lean muscle, have ridiculous amount of energy throughout the day, keep your body fat down to a healthy body fat. Now, Emily and I both are down. We're very low body fat, and we're working out when we're doing a 24-hour fast and have plenty of energy to train. Well, I'm doing research now to prove that we could do prolonged fasting at our age and still increase our strength and still increase our adding lean muscle. We're not losing any muscle. That's the myth. Everybody's, these health professionals and doctors are telling their clients, you can't do a fast when you're trying to add lean muscle. That's BS. That's totally wrong. And even science is saying it's bull, because we're doing it. I'm documenting everything. I document everything I do, how I feel. I document on a form on my lifting. I date it. I show that I'm adding weight each every 2.5 to 3 weeks. We'll go up 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds on our exercise. That's what we're doing. But yet last week, mad diets, which means we only ate one meal for four days by accident. That just shows that that food does not run our lives. But by accident, we only ate one meal for 4 days without even knowing it. And so, but yet Monday, I went in the gym, and Mondays are our hardest training days because we do heavy upper body with a max for each body part. And I blew up, I did a flat dumbbell press at 67 years old. After doing reps, I blew up 6 or 5 reps with 90-pound dumbbells. And I didn't have a spot. I didn't spot. But yet I did 4 OMAD diets last week. So I just blew that debunking about losing strength when you're doing fasting. I blew that. And I'm an old body. This is an old person.
You're not old, Coach. You're not old at all, man. You're getting younger every year.
but the key obviously is the key. The key is always going to go back to recovery. And because of the structure of this water, and because of it's got a charge to it, and because of the structure, it's able to hydrate us when we're training. And the key factor is why are we able to do what we do at our age when we're training? Why are we able to walk out of the gym? By the time we walk out of the gym, we are fully recovered with that body part. Why is it that we don't get sore? And I mean, when people watch us train, these old farts training, we train heavy and hard. We don't even talk to eat. We're so focused on our training, we barely talk to each other. And every body part has got a max to it. Well, why are we able to do that? It's because what am I doing? I'm drinking water that has the structure and the ability to hydrate my cells at the cellular level, to recover the most important energy system that is designed to give us a burst of energy, and that's the ATP, which is produced in the mitochondria. And we're adding the electrolytes to our water to increase the balance of electrolytes at the cellular level to keep that cell functioning like it's supposed to. And we're recovering. And that's why. I mean, the water is the base. I mean, the water these people drinking in the gym, I mean, Aquafina, Dasani, I don't know what the heck. They go to these health food stores, buy these expensive alkaline waters. That's trash. Does not have the structure or the ability to actually recover your ATP energy system that you need in order to train as hard as we train. I could never do what I'm doing now if I was drinking those waters. There's no way. My inflammation in my shoulders would be out of this world.
And you know, what about that compared to back in the day when you were injecting steroids? Do you have more energy and more?
No, I was in pain when Emily and I were competing back. We competed back in those days. Both of us got on stage. We were constantly in pain all the time because we were sore all the time, and because we're competing, you really can't take a day off. Now, because of my education in muscle and in kinesiology, if I hurt myself, I knew enough to work around that muscle in order to keep training before I go on stage so I wouldn't lose any days. But I remember back in those days that we were constantly, because we trained 6-7 days a week. Sometimes we trained twice a day. I was in constant pain all the time, constant soreness, issues in the shoulders. I mean, it was miserable. And then especially with our hormones, they were flat out horrible.
Wow.
But now
that's some great stuff. That's I love this episode today, Coach. This is going to help a lot of people, and I'm definitely going to get this to my cousin and encourage her to watch this, and then try to get her husband to watch it as well, because this is a really serious issue. And you're living proof that by doing that, he is ultimately going to cause himself health issues down the road that, he may or may not be able to recover from. And, it's when we have that information to share with people, it's simply, for me, it's something that I have to do. Whether they're going to take this information and utilize it or not, that's another story. But, I have got to share this with people, because this information is life-changing. And the only reason that we have this information, the only reason that I have this information, is because someone out there somewhere named Coach Bill Mabry is gracious enough to bring this information to my attention. And quite frankly, I can do no less for others. I have to share this information with them. And then that way, at least I can feel good with myself. I can feel good in my heart that I did what I could do. And, when you have information that can help people and you're not willing to share it with them, you're being selfish, and, and you're simply not doing what God would want you to do. And so I have to get this information to people. And this is why I'm so thankful and so blessed that you're willing to take an hour out of your day every Friday and come on here and share this amazing information with people. And I'm just looking forward to continuing this. And every week, people can look forward to the Coach Mabry show and going and learning something that'll help change their life for the better forever. Because, quite frankly, we're on a mission to change the world. And the only way we're going to do it is by helping people understand what they don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, that the title of this program today should be, if you're looking to slow premature aging, listen to this.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Well, thank you so much, Coach. We've been here for a little over an hour, and so we probably should go ahead and get on with our day. And I like to try and keep these episodes around about an hour, because you have a better chance of getting people to actually watch them. You know how people's attention spans are nowadays. And, Rodgar, thanks for being here, buddy. I hope you found some value with that. And did you have anything you'd like to say to Coach before we head out of here?
Yes, it's impressive how good that Himalayan sea salt is. And that's not too long ago when I started using it. So I'll just keep adding more to my life. So
So hey, Rogers, show him the sea salt you're using. And Coach, is this the correct stuff that he should be using?
Is it? Yep, that's it. That's the one.
There we go.
Yeah, and that's gonna, and as you, it's funny because as he uses that more and more, and as time goes on, and eventually what's going to happen is he'll have, life gets in the way, and sometimes you forget to have it, or you don't do enough per day. What's going to happen is his body is going to remind him, hey, you didn't do very much sea salt today, and I'm going to cramp up, or you're not going to feel the same. And then you're going to do it again, and you're going to see your energy level, and it's a very good example. It's just all you got to do is this: if you have somebody that says that's tired all the time, if they're always tired, try them on the tongue. Do this 3 times a day, and let's see what your energy does. They will see it much faster, than a person who's been doing it for a long time, because now their body's naturally accepting it.
Now, would that work, Coach, for somebody that's not drinking Kangen water, if they were just adding that to their regular water source?
You know what? I actually have people who are not drinking the water and are doing the sea salt. And at first, because they're so depleted, yes, they'll see the effect. But then as they do it more often, it eventually will slow itself down. The ones that are doing the hydrogen-rich water, because the water is structured to enter the cell, that they'll keep that energy level long term. That's the difference.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I know there's a huge difference, but, one of our goals is to help people like me, because in the beginning, I thought this was the stupidest thing on the planet. I thought water's water, this is crazy and stupid, and I just laughed about it. And I cost myself 6 perfectly good months of my life. And, now I know what I know. It's a whole different story. And so, this has been such an incredible blessing to my life and to my wife's life, and to a bunch of friends and people that I never even knew until I got involved with Kangen water. It's just been such an incredible blessing to all of us. And, just like with this, Coach, this is a blessing having you in here every week. And I do look forward to my Fridays. It's a really neat thing being able to get in here and learn from you every Friday. And I sure appreciate what you're doing. And I look forward to next Friday. Next Friday, I'll be up in Washington. I'm leaving tomorrow morning to help an old high school friend of mine move from Utah to Walla Walla, Washington, and then we're going to venture on up to Seattle for next Wednesday's Bob Wright's event that's going on up there in Seattle. And so I'm excited. I get to go meet a bunch of my Kangen water friends that are up in Seattle, and really looking forward to that. I'm going to take my sweetie to the Space Needle and go have supper up there in the top of the Space Needle, and it's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. But next Friday I won't be here in my office. I'll be up there somewhere with my computer, and we'll be coming in hot from there. And so yeah, Coach, gotta love you, buddy. Thank you so much for everything you do to help other people. And you're an incredible example to everyone, young and old. And I really appreciate you coming in here, because with people like you, the Kong family, we are going to accomplish our mission of changing the world. 1 glass of hydrogen-rich, oxygen-saturated, incredibly hydrating Kangen water, 9.5 at a time, 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. One amazing, awesome, informative show, one incredible guest, and one awesome family at a time. Thank you, buddy. God bless you. Do not forget your hugs. Here's a hug for you. Here's a hug. And a HooDeeHoooo.
They're telling me.
Come on, Coach. Give yourself a hug for me. Give it.
All right, guys. You guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you guys next Friday. And then If any of your viewers have anything they want me to talk about, just have them contact you.
Yeah, please, if anybody's interested, every week, if you have questions for Coach, just either come on in here. Every week when we do this, I'll be including the live Zoom link so that you guys can come right on into the room and ask him yourself if you want to. And yeah, please give us some questions. We want things to talk about. We need, we want to answer questions. We want to help people understand that they can make the right decision. They can safely, naturally, healthily get rid of that body fat, become healthy, become, reverse the aging process, have that energy that they haven't been able to have. And, so that's what we're here for, Coach. And I love you and appreciate everything that you do. And until next week, have a great one. Get out there, change the world, starting with your own kids. HooDeeHoooo! Love you guys so much. Thanks again, Coach. Bye for now. See you, Rodgar. Give your lovely wife a hug for me.
Will do. Safe traveling, man.
See you, brother.
You bet.
Well, hang tight for a second, Rodgar. You
Okay.
still there?
Yep.
So what's going on with you guys? You went down to somewhere down in South America there to do your little thing, helping people out. I saw some pictures and such. You guys obviously had a good time, and so
you have to split it in half from south to north. There's Central America. That's where we were at Nicaragua.
Central America. Okay, all right. And,
yeah, we helped building a school out there. We raised the walls half up, and the main thing wasn't to finish the project. The main thing was going there, build relationships, and motivate the people to do it themselves. So that's what we did.
Let's see. Yes.